Welcome back to our second part of first aid injury response, and I would like you to continue to bring out your quizzes so you can fill in the correct answers as we go along. Another kind of injury accident that can develop in our facilities that we need to respond very quickly to is choking, and our residents are going to be predisposed to choking because of some of the medications that they're on. They change the pharyngeal muscles and their ability to swallow completely. This part of the body is also affected with a stroke or with a transient ischemic attack, which is the mini strokes. So we need to be really careful that we're monitoring the dining rooms to really do a good job with our residents and keep them safe. It's important we keep one person in the dining room at all times during meal times to make sure that residents are not choking and that they are okay, and if they're needing our help, that we can be there in a New York second to be able to help them to clear their airway. So keeping somebody in the dining rooms is paramount to a really good program. The residents that can get into trouble also may have a particular affinity for eating too fast. They'll just shovel in their food really quickly and not swallow in between and not take sips of water to be able to get the food to continue keep going down. Chin tucking is a good thing to do and to encourage them also to do to swallow well so that they can really get all of the muscles in there working really well and to be able to get the food down in a purposeful manner. If you have to jump in to save them, I want you to remember some of the things from the first aid class that you've been to, and that's the Heimlich maneuver, and it is very effective in clearing somebody's airway. Don't forget with the Heimlich maneuver, somebody's choking up here, and we're trying to capture the air which is down here with them. And so you're going to be doing the Heimlich maneuver by putting the finger in the belly button and putting the wrist above it and a nice tight fist and doing upward thrust to be able to get that up and get that air that's captured here in the body and be able to get that meat, that bread, whatever is in their airway, and be able to get that to come out. So it's really critical that you do that quickly and fastly. And also you need to go up to the person and say, are you choking? See if they can speak. If they can't speak, then you know they're definitely in trouble. I would do that. I've known CNAs that have told me they've had to do it 25, 30 times to be able to get a patent airway in here and have the person be able to breathe nicely. If you are working in tandem with someone else and you're administering the supportive Heimlich maneuver, you point to that person and say, please dial 911 and get you some help that way. Should your client ever begin to lose consciousness and start to fall and maybe start slipping around in their chair and really beginning to lose trunk control, that's when you want to get them on the floor and you want to start to begin to do CPR on them to maintain the airway, and the paramedics should be there pretty quickly. Our residents can sometimes have a stroke. There can be some bleeding in the brain, or there can be a clot that'll go from their heart to the brain, and then it'll stop the flow of circulation in the brain, and then you'll begin to see some signs and some symptoms. One of the things from the first aid class that I want to review with you again has to do with the FAST, and the FAST is a good way to be able to be sure that we are assessing the residents to the best of our ability. So the F stands for face. You want to ask them to smile. What are you looking for? You are looking for symmetry from here to here. You're looking for a smile to go up on both sides. If you get a smile from the resident that is crooked, one side down and one side up, that's an indication that there could be something going on in the brain. The other thing you want to do is have them put their arms out. Have them put their arms out in front of you. If they're dropping one arm, and they can't keep them both out on the same, but they keep dropping an arm, or they have weakness in one side of their body, that's a very indicative sign that there could be something happening neurologically in the brain. The other one is speech. You want them to be able to repeat a very simple sentence that you say to them. So you're going to say to them, it's a sunny day outside today. See if they're able to repeat that back to you. It's a sunny day outside today, or it's a snowy day outside today. Anything where you have the ability to be able to figure out that they can hear the message you're sending and create a message and send it back to you. If that's not possible, or if you get some kind of slurred speaking, such as don't think sun don't day, anything that doesn't make any sense to you and sounds like a bunch of words that are not coming together well, you need to be aware that that could mean that there's something happening neurologically, and that they may need to go to the hospital to be evaluated for a stroke. The last part of the acronym FAST is time, and it stands for the T. So remember that you really got to get residents to the emergency room. We only have 2 or 3 hours with a stroke and with a blood clot to be able to put the blood clot busters into the IV, get the clot cleared up so that the circulation can then get back to the brain again and be able to keep the brain tissue alive and not die from a stroke and have less damage on parts of their body as a result from that. I've also seen some other strange behaviors in my nursing career, which was an indicator that there was something going on neurologically with clients. Watch for disorientation. They don't know where they are. They don't know what's going on. They can't tell you their name. And that kind of confusion, particularly when that's not their baseline. And we've already talked about the slurred speech, but just the fact that they may be having some very different kinds of behaviors, some wild sort of behaviors. They could be pacing, they could be not with their baseline, they might be agitated. Things along those lines will usually be an indicator that there could very well be something that is not going well in their brain, and they might need a little bit of help and support from us off to the emergency room as quick as possible. One of the symptoms that somebody could be having a heart attack could be that they'll grab their chest and they'll say, I have awful pain here, or I have terrible pain in my left arm. Terrible pain. A cardinal sign that something could be happening to them also is this sweat, which is profuse, that particularly the men will break out in. And so they're holding their chest and they're telling you it feels like an elephant's there, and the left arm is numb, and they're breaking out in a real sweat. When you touch their skin is cold and it's clammy. You need to be moving fast. You need to be dialing 911, getting vital signs, and getting them out of your building, following the directions from the dispatcher if they're directing you to do anything else. And like oxygen, maybe an aspirin, anything like that that the doctor in the emergency room through the dispatcher is directing you to do to preserve life and to help somebody to get through that heart attack. Now, I do want to let you know that women are very tricky when it comes to chest involvement. They're not going to demonstrate classical signs. So with women, you're going to be looking for pain in their right shoulders. They may have jaw pain. They might have pain in their back. They also may just be feeling lousy all over and tell you, I feel like I have the flu. So women won't sweat the same way that men will, but they'll have other kinds of symptomatology that you need to be keyed into, particularly the jaw, the right shoulder, and the back area. So let's keep an eye on that for our women and be sure that we're responding, knowing that they have referred cardiac pain, and it can be very different. Be sure that you're asking them so you can tell the paramedics, how bad is your pain on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being a little and 10 being a lot. And if it's a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, be very distinct with the paramedics when they're coming to let them know just how much discomfort they are in. When we transfer out in an emergency, whether it's a choking emergency that has not been able to be cleared by the staff, a stroke emergency, a fracture, or a heart attack, you've got to get appropriate paperwork together before you send them out. So be sure that you are collecting the paperwork out of the chart that must go. There are three things I want you to send. Number 1, I want you to be sure that you're sending the face sheet so that the doctor knows the next of kin and knows all of the diagnoses and the allergies. The second paper that I want you to be sure that you're sending out when you send them out is to be sure that you are copying any kind of advance directives that we might have, like a living will. It could be a medical durable power of attorney. It could be a medical surgical treat. Whatever paperwork that they have, generally that's right after the face sheet in our charts. So make a copy of any advance directives. Up in the left-hand corner of the face sheet, it'll say yes or no for advance directives, and they should follow right after the face sheet, right in the residence records. The third thing I want you to do is to go to your electronic system and be sure that you print a current medication administration record, print a MAR, so that a receiving doctor in the emergency room knows exactly what medications they're on and exactly what medications they may have taken for that day. Those are 3 important pieces of information we need to be sure that we send out with the clients when you're sending them to the emergency room. Be careful, slow down. Make sure you're copying the correct document. We had an incident occur one time that in the staff's quick response, they copied somebody else's MAR. So be very careful that you have the correct MAR, you have the correct face sheet, and you have the correct do not resuscitate that is going with the paramedics. Even having said that, there are still times the paperwork never seems to get to the admitting doctor in the emergency room. So you might call the ER and you might say, I've sent papers with the paramedics. If you don't receive them, here's my phone number, call me back, and we can refax to the emergency room. It's a good thing to do. Always a good thing to do, to call and to double check about that. Stay connected as a team, work together in a team in emergency. It's never a one-man show. Be sure you're communicating, direct people to dial 911, and let's work quickly, swiftly, and efficiently together to meet the needs of the residents. I'd like to talk about diabetics for just a second, because diabetics can create some responses that we need to respond to just as quickly as we can. Granted, sometimes the blood pressure might go up or it might go down, but it's the blood sugar that I'm mostly interested in, that we try to maintain a nice healthy balance for our diabetics. We really want to be sure that the blood sugar doesn't go too low and it doesn't go too high. We would really like the blood sugar to be about 100. Now 80 to 120 is a normal range for blood sugar, depending upon early in the morning or after a meal. But when diabetics who are taking oral medication to help their pancreas create insulin, or they might be taking an injection where they are actually taking insulin, they are going to be very, very susceptible to sugar, and they're going to be very susceptible to skipping meals. So it's very important for diabetics to maintain homeostasis, is to make sure they're doing two things. I want them to eat, and I also want them to take their medicine, either the oral medication or their insulin. If they do one without the other, they're going to get in trouble. So let's just talk about a couple of scenarios. If you have a resident who is eating, and not taking their medicine, then their blood sugars are going to go sky high. They're going to go up, and they're going to end up with blood sugars 200, 300, 400, 500. So when you help a resident do a blood sugar, if you end up getting a blood sugar that's really high, you need to be asking them a question like, have you just had any sugar? Did you have a soda pop? Did you just have any candy bars? Have you had any sugar in the last hour? It's really important information, because sometimes we're calling the doctor and we're telling them we've got a blood sugar of 400 and 500, and we didn't ask the right questions first. Have you had any sugar? If that's the case and a resident is really high, the glucometer is reading high on the reading, or you're getting a 350, 400, 450, we need parameters with the doctor on what they want us to do about that. Some doctors are going to say, send them to the ER. And some doctors are going to say, limit the carbohydrates for the rest of the night and recheck the sugar at 11 o'clock after dinner, and make sure they skip dessert and have just protein and water and a little bit more exercise, and recheck them at 9 o'clock. It's all about knowing the client, the doctor knowing the client, and knowing what kind of interventions he wants us to do. When in doubt, if the blood sugar is really high, please send them out 911, particularly if you can't reach the healthcare practitioner. The more important one in a diabetic management is when you have diabetics who go hypoglycemic. And what I mean by that is their blood sugar drops below 90, 95, 80, 70. Diabetics are going to be symptomatic with that. They're going to tell you they don't feel good. They're going to say that they feel weak, they've got the shakes, I feel like I'm going to pass out, they can break out in a sweat. And if they tell you I don't feel good, nurse or QMAP, or you really need to pay attention and you need to really respond with that. We once had a client whose blood sugar dropped all the way down to 29, and he was still alert. It was amazing. But we were able to get some orange juice into him with a little sugar in it, and then when he started to lose consciousness, we were able to get some sugar packs packed into his gum line right here, rubbing it around, trying to get it to go into circulation. And that time we were also able to get a finger stick by one of the QMAPs, who told me it was 29 as the paramedics were running in the door, and being able to get him to the hospital. By the way, 3 hours later, he was rolling back in the building again. The hospital had gotten him stabilized, and the whole incident for him that day had been kicked off simply because he skipped breakfast. He did not eat his breakfast, took his insulin, went to the dialysis center, and never had breakfast in him. And it was 9 o'clock in the morning when we found him in trouble. So keep that in mind with our clients. I would always want you to give them a little bit of orange juice just to see if it could be a sugar problem while you're running to get the glucometer machine. Residents will seize They will die if we allow them to continue to have their blood sugar drop down to 50, 40, 30. How that one client was even alert and awake and able to talk to us with a 29 blood sugar just goes to show you just how brittle he was with his diabetes that he had. So let's try to stay on top of that. Now, when their blood sugars are too high, what are the symptoms that you see with that? You're going to be seeing them drinking a lot of water. Drinking. They never can stop getting enough water. You're going to see them going to the bathroom. They're peeing at the same time too, because they're trying to have their body adjust to the fact that the blood sugar is getting too high and creating changes in their body. So if you see that, any weakness, any lethargy, and usually it will take a day or two for someone to have their blood sugar get sky high, and we have a little more time with that, but we do need to contact the doctor and we need to get the residents taken care of and on the road to recovery as quickly as possible. By observation, by listening, by knowing our residents well, knowing their baseline, using your eyes to look at somebody's skin color, what their lips look like, their fingernails, listening to your residents. How bad is your pain on a scale from 1 to 10? So we're really clearly doing that. Your sense of touch when you're taking pulses with people or you're putting the oximetry on. Is your skin cold? Is it clammy? Is it hot? Are they flushed? Those are the kinds of things that you need to pick up. Also use your sense of smell. Staff will often tell me they think somebody has a urinary tract infection because we can smell urine that's in their bathroom or on their clothing, or they have an increased body odor that way, and we can begin to think maybe they have a urinary tract infection that might be developing in their body to create that. You are always looking for asymmetry. Are the shoulders about the same length? Is the smile equal on both sides? Are the legs about the same distance and length when they come down? Is one leg turned out? Is it shorter than the other one? Those things around asymmetry and the symmetrical part of the body is a very good keen observation that you can make. So the body should be symmetrical. When it's not, that's called asymmetry. That's something you're going to want to report to the paramedics and the doctor just as soon as you can. We need pulses. We need blood pressures. We need oximetry. We need to have that information available. It's the first thing the paramedics are going to ask when they come. Let's let them know we've got some brains, we know what to do, and we can collect that data and share that with them right away. Let's be observant of our residents. Let's be tuned into them. Let's slow down. Some of our residents complain all the time, and some of our residents never complain. And that's important to know about their baseline, because either one of them can get in trouble. The chronic complainer and the one who never complains. And it's our responsibility to know our residents well, to know their baseline, to be responsive to them, to pick up on their signals or their triggers, and to be right there to help them stay well, get them the kind of help that they need, and get them off to the doctor or the emergency room. Thank you so much for listening to my videos at Senior Housing Options so that we can be the best caretakers we can for the residents who are in our care. Have a good day and take care, keep this knowledge, and keep learning and keep coming to our trainings. Thank you very much. Have a good day.